tennis shoes to Seattle, and they have no treads on them, and when it was raining.
Recording in progress.
We're going to call the board study session to order, and Nina Corson is up first with a report on the Druckmann Properties project. Thank you, Nina, once again for all your work.
Hi, good evening. Chairwoman Rial, members of the board, chancellor, colleague, and guest. I'm here tonight to give you an update on where we are with the Druckmann Properties RFP and also seek your advice on how to move forward. The last time we met, we gave an overview to the board and we talked about some priorities for the RFP. Since then, the college has issued the RFP to the one qualified proposer, one developer, and we've had a pre-proposal meeting with them in addition to some conversation during that meeting about their vision. I want to tell you a little bit about their vision and some of the limitations that they have with this project and seek your advice. Could we scroll it? Should I scroll up? Do I do that? Oh. Okay, just the second page I think will be fine. So let me tell you, yeah, perfect, thank you, about the developer's vision. They propose to build about 80 low-income housing units. It would be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. They would also like to partner with the city to build the Thrive in the 05's food hub and accelerator project, and they could potentially put a health clinic there. They were not open to the college's request to become a tenant on these properties by including a police station in their development. If we insist on including that in the project, they will not submit an RFP. Some other things about their particular project, I'll just give you maybe quickly the picture. The Tucson Inn is over on our right. They propose to put the City of Tucson's food hub in the old cafe, demolish the back end of the Tucson Inn, and then the Copper Cactus and the Frontier Inn would become multi-bedroom, 3-bedroom units for families. And then they would build a new building kind of cutting across those properties that would be a 3-story apartment building. Then over on the dirt lot, we have an empty lot that we own. That's where they would put the healthcare clinic, and that's where they propose we move our existing masonry yard. Couple downsides to this. Because of the tax credits competition that they have to go into, to maximize their points, they could guarantee us no more than $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month in income for this lease. Some possibility that could go up by 3% a year, but that is extremely minimal. Would not touch the cost that the college would have to increase our police presence on campus. Should we have, like we talked about last time, should we have residents, people living on our properties, we would need an increase in our police presence there. So that amount of money does not help cover that cost. Additionally, the developers told us that they were looking for a 75-year minimum lease, preferably 99 years. That's almost twice as long as the college has been in existence, so that is quite a long lease. So at this point, we need guidance from the board whether or not to continue in this RFP process. If we continue, we need to pull out the police headquarters, and we have to know the downside to this. The alternative is to discontinue the RFP process now and then consider what to do next at some point in the future.
Does anybody have any questions? Questions?
So 75 years at $2,000 a month would probably never give the college the amount of money that they've spent on this property. Would you agree with that?
I've not done the calculation, but that sounds about right.
And I think that, well, for me anyway, the police department, you know, if the cost is going to increase, and then, of course, based on apartment complex, you're talking about, even with what we have now, you're talking about, we're going to need police presence and more. Because when you have mixed families and mixed individuals, you don't know what to expect.
Sure, anytime you have residents, there's property crime, domestic violence. Not, I wouldn't expect that every day here, but it's certainly a possibility, and something that our police do not currently have to deal with are things they would have to deal with in the future.
Well, I think this proposal takes advantage of the college.
Madam Chair, I'll put forth a motion. First of all, I'd like to state that I'm very disappointed in not the process and not the work being done, but the results at this point in time. And, understanding that this is the only proposal we received and that for a variety of reasons this proposal is unacceptable, I move that the board discontinue the RFP process.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none? Any discussion? I'm just being silly. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously to discontinue the process. Please know that we admire greatly all the work that you and your committee did. It's just this isn't meeting the needs of the college and our mission and value statements. So thank you for all that work, Nina.
Of course, thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, Dr. Nick Richmond with the college employee satisfaction survey results.
Chair Rial, members of the board, Chancellor Nassi, colleagues and guests, it's my pleasure to be here this evening to share a brief update on the results from the most recent administration of the College Employee Satisfaction Survey. So this survey is from Ruffalo Noel Levitz, and it includes a number of different sections, including campus culture, work environment, and more. And it's designed specifically for education. So it has some education-themed questions related to students, for example, that you don't see in other employee satisfaction surveys. This instrument was selected back in 2013, and we've been administering it roughly every 2 to 3 years ever since. So we can track trends over time, see if things are improving, see if things are getting worse, using a consistent set of statements. Now, the results include a variety of things. For each statement within the survey, we get input from employees around their importance and their satisfaction with each of the statements. We typically don't use the importance results very much because pretty much across the board, employees find every statement important. So there isn't that much too interesting in there because everything is pretty consistent. But we do look at the satisfaction results in detail to understand employee perceptions about a range of different things. The external organization who complete the survey also provides a statistical comparison for us with the prior administration results and also compared with a comparison group of institutions. So we have those findings as well. Starting at different points in time during the lifespan of this survey, we've also included categories for all faculty and for adjunct faculty, so we can see how satisfaction looks for those populations as well. Now, the external company administers a survey. None of the results come in directly to the institution on an individual by individual response. We provide a listing of all employees that goes to the external company, and then they send out the survey to that population. As an institution, we do provide incentives because we want to encourage employees to participate. You can see the incentives for the most recent year listed here. But we gather the names for the incentives through an optional survey, which people are redirected to after they complete the survey with Ruffalo Noel Levitz. And they can choose to provide the information or not. And those responses cannot be connected back to the information they provided through the original survey. So, for this first point, and I want to stress it because it's really important, anonymity is really, really important, right, when you're doing an employee satisfaction survey. If people submit for incentives, we do not know how they responded to the survey. Unless a person chooses to identify themselves in the comments or enter a comment that means indirectly they can be identified, we have no idea who has completed the survey, what they entered. And we can't match the comments to the responses on the other statements. So we may have the comment, but we still can't connect them to anything else, which is good because we don't want to, we don't want to try to, we don't want the information to be able to do that. So the most recent administration was in spring of 2024. We monitored the response rates during the course of the survey. We actually kept it open longer than we intended to because we found the response rates for some of the employee groups were lower than we needed to ensure we had a good confidence level in the responses. So we kept it open for longer, and I'll share the response rates in a few moments. To increase participation, we did a few more engagement efforts this year to try and get more responses. This was in response to concerns last time around that we had a lower response level that were raised by some of the board and others. In particular, we engaged with supervisors this time, and we made the request that supervisors make time available at one of their team meetings so that people can submit the survey during team meeting time. This ensures people had time set aside to do the survey, and I think that helped across the response rates that we received. So this table gives you the response rates across the different employee types over each of the years when we've administered the survey. Where we have dashes, it means we weren't separating out those populations in that particular year. So if we highlight, if we highlight all responses, our most recent administration, we had 1,327 responses, which is notably higher than last year, and is actually higher than the first year that we did this back in 2013. Also highlight all faculty responses. This is also significantly up from when we did this in 2015 as well. So I think this is kind of our efforts trying to engage with supervisors and other means to really try and build up the response rates so we could be confident in the numbers that we have. Please go ahead.
Does all faculty, is that the combination of full-time faculty and adjunct faculty together?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it is. So if we move on and look briefly at some of the results, now obviously there are a lot of findings in this particular survey. We provided to the board the full report that has everything, including all the trend data. For the purposes of the presentation, I'm going to hit on a few key points only because there really isn't time to go into everything in detail, but you have the report, so you have everything should you wish to take a look. But if we start with all employees and the section on college culture and policies, this is one of the two primary sections in the survey. So within this section, we have 30 big picture statements, original from Ruffalo Noel Levitz. For all of these statements, except for one, there was a statistically significant increase in satisfaction from 2022 to 2024. This continues a general trend we've seen since back in 2013, where we're seeing gradually increasing levels of satisfaction each year. That's not true every single year. 2017, it was a little bit flat, and sometimes the increases are more for some statements than others, but we've generally seen this progression towards a more positive sense of satisfaction at the institution. Now, for the other statement, satisfaction did increase, but it wasn't statistically significant. So it went up, but maybe it could be through random chance, perhaps, for that one. Now, also in this area, we have a number of custom samples, custom questions rather, that we added. Now, these date back to when the institution was on probation in the first administration, but we've kept them in there each year just to see how things changes over time. Now, there's a whole lot of data in this survey. To try and bring a little bit of high-level order around this, for this administration, we're trying something new, and we categorize the statements into like groupings. So we could take a big picture view and see which groupings seem to be highest levels of satisfaction, which ones are the lowest. This is the high-level summary table. The highest levels of satisfaction with the categories at the top here, so pride, reputation, and quality, and students, for example, are areas where we typically see a higher satisfaction score. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have clear and consistent processes, or procedures rather, planning and efforts to improve. I would note that communication is kind of an interesting one. When we add the custom statements, it pulls some of the other categories lower, but for some of the communication statements, they tend to be fairly low as well, and I'll highlight that for you in a couple of the example statements. So if we look at all of the statements, this includes both the original 30 standard statements and also the custom ones that we include. We can look in a little bit more detail at some of the statements that are in here. So you'll notice that communication is the top one. This is one of our custom statements. So my immediate supervisor provides me with the information about what is going on at the college. Then we have a number connected to pride, reputation, quality, and students. So faculty take pride in their work, staff take pride in their work. These are all some of the statements that have higher satisfaction scores for all employees in the responses to the survey. Now, if we jump to the next slide, we can look at the opposite end of the spectrum. So we know that our satisfaction is going up survey to survey, but by looking across statements, this is where we can identify the areas in which we have the most opportunities to improve. So the lowest rated statement in this section is also communication from one of the standard statements. So there are effective lines of communication between departments. This is our lowest scoring statement across this section of the survey. Then others relate to clear procedures and responsibilities. So for example, systems and processes are in place to address underperforming employees, and employee suggestions are used to improve our institution. So this starts to give us some pointers about some of the areas institutionally we might look to as we work towards improving employee satisfaction. Now, as a note here, I mentioned at the beginning, we get results that compares us to the cohort of colleges completing the survey. Based on the 30 original statements, which are the ones that we can compare to other institutions, obviously our custom statements, we don't have comparison data outside the institution. But in 2024, for the first time, most of the mean satisfaction scores for Pima were statistically better than the comparison group. This is exciting for the institution because when we first started doing this, we lagged quite a ways behind the comparison group. And now we're getting to the point where in some of these areas we're outperforming the comparison colleges, which is really encouraging progress to see at the institution. Now, some of the statements had non-statistically significant increases compared to the comparison group, and there was one statement for which satisfaction was lower, so administrators take pride in their work. We scored lower there than compared to the comparison institutions. So that's a very brief overview of that first section of the survey. If we jump now to all employees and work environment. So this is a very different section of the survey. The first looks at big picture topics at the institution. The second one gets a little bit more detailed, talks about the work unit, the employee-supervisor relationship, for example. And here we have 21 standard statements directly from R&L, and then we have some custom statements that we've included as well. For all statements, the mean satisfaction in 2024 was higher than the mean satisfaction in 2022, which again continues this upward trend that we see over time. But as for the other section, the fact that we're tracking upwards doesn't mean we don't have opportunities to improve. So again, we applied some groupings to the results here so we could draw out some sense of where are we stronger, where are we weaker based on these specific results, so we can look to identify areas to improve. Now here, pride, reputation, and quality was the highest of the categories that we see, which is consistent with the previous section of results. Towards the lower end in this section, we have planning and employee needs when we score a little lower in terms of satisfaction. So again, that gives us some pointers of areas where we need to focus. We can look through the specific statements. So the highest scoring score in 2024, I am proud to work at this institution, and also one around communication, so my supervisor pays attention to what I have to say. We have other statements, as you can see here, around pride and reputation, and a few kind of middle-of-the-pack results around employee needs. If we go to the lower end of the satisfaction scores, our lowest score here is for the statement that I am paid fairly for the work I do. As context here, because we just went through class and comp, so we would hope that we would see a change in this statement compared to last time. While this is our lowest score across these statements, it was a score of 2.75 was our mean last time we did this. So we've jumped up quite a bit on this particular statement in the last 2 years. And for comparison purposes, the score for the comparison cohort of students is around about 3.15, if I recall correctly. So we're scoring higher the comparison colleges. We're up from 2022, but this remains a kind of a lower area of satisfaction for employees. But we can look across these other statements and we can see other areas that people highlighted. So the institution chooses and funds the most important priorities. I have adequate opportunities for advancement. These are areas that the institution can look to as we seek to use these results to support continuous improvement. As for the previous set of results, for these 21 statements in this section, we can compare to the comparison group of colleges. And what we find is that Pima's mean satisfaction was significantly higher than comparison group in 17 of these statements, so indicating that the colleges reached and surpassed the level of the comparison colleges. It was not statistically higher in 3 statements and non-significantly lower in 1. The one where we were lower relates to employee benefits for this specific section. So that gives you an overview of the 2 primary sections for all employees. I want to touch briefly on the results for all faculty since we have those findings available. The detailed tables are within the report that's been provided, but we can just touch on this a little bit to give you a feel for how these numbers look. So we do not have statistical significance scores from Ruffalo Noah Levitz for the faculty section of the survey, but we can look at the mean scores and get a feel for how things look. So in every statement, all faculty in 2024 had higher mean satisfaction scores than 2020.
Can I just interrupt real quick?
Oh, of course.
Why doesn't something Noel Levitz, why don't they give the statistical significance for this section? Why isn't that?
They have certain set reports that they provide. We could choose to add this as a custom report calculation if we wish to.
Okay.
So they could do that analysis for us if we wanted them to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So in 2024 compared to 2022, far fewer of the satisfaction scores for all faculty were lower than for all employees. In 2022, we saw this clear trend that all faculty responses were oftentimes lower than for all employees. That's shifted a bit now, so it was 1 in 30 statements in 2024 was lower compared to 16 of 30 in 2022. So that 1 in 30 is kind of nice to see. So as in 2022, it's worth noting, though, that adjunct faculty satisfaction was higher than all faculty in every statement. So this tells us that when we look at the results for all faculty compared to all employees, we need to keep in mind that within the all faculty responses, the adjunct faculty scores are higher than full-time faculty. And that's an important detail for us to keep in mind. So we can look at the areas of highest satisfaction just to give you a sense of how the faculty numbers look. So the highest statements, faculty take pride in their work, staff take pride in their work, and this institution promotes excellent employee-student relationships. At the lower end of the spectrum, there are effective lines of communication between departments was the lowest scoring statement for faculty, the same as it was for all employees. This really highlights to us as an institution, this is an area we need to look at and figure out how we can communicate more effectively across units. Other statements that were somewhat lower, so this institution does a good job of meeting the needs of its faculty, and employee suggestions are used to improve our institution. This one in particular is really important for us as we embark on our comprehensive planning process. We want to ensure employees have a way to give their feedback into that process, and that their feedback is heard and used, and that applies both for faculty as well as all employees. And we can also identify the areas where we have the largest gap between adjunct faculty and all faculty to get a sense of how things compare across faculty types at the institution. So lastly, the final set of results I'll just touch on briefly before I wrap up is the work environment responses for faculty. So compared to 2022, faculty satisfaction increased in virtually every measure within the survey. So the satisfaction increases that we see for all employees, we see that reflected in the faculty responses too. Adjunct faculty show slightly higher levels of satisfaction across many of the statements, which again is consistent with things we've seen before. And there's one particular statement that showed a much lower satisfaction for adjunct faculty compared to all faculty, somewhat unsurprisingly related to the benefits that are available to them.
And what are the benefits for adjunct faculty? We just give them a bit of time off, right? They have sick leave. Isn't it the only benefit that we give adjunct faculty?
I would actually have to defer to a colleague on that. I'm not entirely clear what those are. Oh, tuition is another one, the tuition waiver.
Tuition waiver and, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So we can look across these two, comparing all faculty responses and all employees. So comparing across the two, mean satisfaction scores for most statements within about 2%. There are a few where we see that faculty mean scores are lower than all employees by about 5%, which is kind of a bigger margin that we might want to focus on. I am fairly paid for the work I do. The employee benefits available to me are valuable, which relates to that adjunct faculty component. And then I am able to complete the work expected of me during my regular or contracted work hours, are all areas where we see bigger gaps for all faculty compared to all employees. So in general, the results from the survey are encouraging. We see increases in satisfaction, and it's notable for the institution that we're outperforming the comparison cohort across many of these statements. However, while we see these improvements, we can clearly see when we compare, even though we're up against the comparison colleges, we can see the variation in satisfaction across the different statements. So we can use that to identify areas where we may want to focus institutionally to support employee satisfaction. And really, we need to do a careful analysis across these statements and across the employee groups to understand what we need to do. So I wanted to touch briefly on what happens next with these results. The goal today is to formally release these results to the governing board Tomorrow, we will post this report and the individual results files from Ruffalo and Noah Levitz to the college website. So that all of the files, the full report, longitudinal comparison, everything is available to anybody who would like to go see those numbers and take a look at what they are and what they say about the institution. But these data, we can put them on the website, that's great, but they're only really useful to us, right, if we actually do something with the numbers and learn from the results. So what we will be doing with the results for this administration is sharing them with the comprehensive planning teams. So those groups can conduct an analysis and a deep dive into these data to determine what steps the college needs to take next to improve on employee satisfaction. We will also likely call together focus groups to help us understand the why behind the numbers. We have these mean scores, but we don't necessarily know the context around them and exactly what it means. And when employees responded a certain way, what was it that was driving that? What was motivating them in that way? So we will likely run focus groups too to build additional information that can be shared with the planning teams. And as a note, communication is one, we saw it a couple of times, particularly about communication between departments. We currently have communication as a goal within the strategic plan extension and the chancellor's goal. So that's something where things are in the works already to try and focus on that particular area and support improvement. And with that, I will wrap up and open it up to any questions you may have.
I apologize for asking my questions in the middle, but I was concerned I wouldn't remember them by the end. Dave B., quick question. Adjunct faculty, do they have the same tuition waiver benefits that full-time faculty and full-time employees have?
It's very similar. I don't think
It's the same.
The same?
For the same $15, yes.
And for family members also?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
As allowed by law.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Question?
Oh, just a comment. Thank you. I always appreciate data like this to kind of give us a sense of what's happening in such a large organization. There's always room for improvement. There's always opportunities to get better. And I'm glad to see that progress seems to have been made. First, in the sample size was largely increased from the last report. And in broadly speaking, right, there was improvement in about how people's perspective in certain areas, which I think is a good sign, right? Not that it's perfect, and it's hard to get, it's interesting when people talk, what is the culture of an organization? It's something I think about a lot. We've all heard that, kind of mantra, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So all the planning you do around goals and things we want to do for students, the culture of the institution is so important. So how do you measure that is difficult, but at least this is a start, and it seems to be trending in the right direction. I guess if we're doing things the right way, we would continue to see things moving in the right direction. And so I think there's lots of good news in this and opportunities of communication being one you pointed out for improvement. So thank you for the information. Sometimes you hear things in leadership, morale is low is kind of a famous refrain across organizations. And you say, well, how do you understand that? What does that mean? How do we measure something like morale? And this is maybe a beginning of that process, in terms of understanding those things. So thank you. Great work.
I actually do have just a quick question. I'm wondering what the thought process was behind the frequency that we're using. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just curious. I mean, in my career, I think every company I've worked for has done this kind of survey annually. I work for one now that not only does a full one annually, but then does much shorter versions, like 3 other times during the year, and just to sort of touch on particular issues. Again, not that that's better or worse. I'm just curious if there was a thought process behind the 2-year intervals or what the thinking was there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to speak to that. So the rationale really was trying to balance between the cost of running the survey and allowing time to implement improvement activities. So the goal, obviously, is to get the results, learn from them, implement some kind of changes so that hopefully we can improve employee satisfaction. So given the timeline of the institution, the timeline around planning processes, chancellor's goals, for example, administering in 1 year, then giving ourselves a year, analyze the results, implement change, then reassess, We found that that was a good schedule. It's similar to the one we use for other surveys too, just so we have that window of opportunity to actually do something with the results. I mean, we can certainly administer this annually or more frequently if it's of interest to the board to see the results more frequently, but that's why we chose every 2 to 3 years.
Thank you.
I have, I'm not sure, were the students covered in this survey?
No, this one is specific for employees only.
Okay, because I think the last time the students were included, it's been a while though. It's been like 4 years maybe?
Yeah, there's a major survey we conduct to students, which is a community college survey of student engagement. That's a suite of surveys which looks at all students, it looks at entering students, it assesses faculty perceptions as well. We're actually moving into that round of surveys now. We're going to be administering the SESI survey in the spring, the faculty SESI in the spring, and we're also going to be conducting the survey of entering students next fall. So that's kind of the priority for the next year, to complete those surveys. And we have some additional survey pieces connected to that around AI, for example. And we're also involved in a pilot looking at dual enrollment student satisfaction. So that's another area we'll look at, and that's all scheduled for the next calendar year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Richmond. And our next discussion is fiscal year 2026 budget discussion with Dr. David B.
Good evening, Chairperson Real, members of the board, Chancellor Nassi, colleagues and guests. It's my pleasure to do an overview of the budget, give you an update of where we're at versus the last time we had a conversation, talk a little bit about what's upcoming and things that we need to keep our eyes on. So as you know, what we're trying to do with the budget is we're balancing the ongoing revenues with the ongoing expenditures, and with the consideration being also on the college's reserves, what we have on hand in our quote savings account. So much like personal budget, it's much more complicated than a personal budget, but the idea is that you need to balance all of your ongoing revenues with your ongoing expenses, and then dip into savings for particular needs. For our case, we're committed to dipping into reserves for one-time capital type investments. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the revenues, some things that we're thinking about to get some board feedback on, talk about where we're at with expenditures, some progress that we've been making, give you an update on that in terms of positions, because we have a goal to reduce through attrition a number of positions in the current year, and then ongoing, that's one of the plans that we're going to have in the upcoming budget. One of the things that also is worth noting is that there's a pretty major potential change in the federal government and what the implications may be from the change in administration. So as we go forward in the budget development cycle, we're going to have to keep our eyes open to see, are there things that are going to have implications in terms of the budget. Just to give some context to that, about a third of our tuition revenues come from federal financial aid, so mostly through Pell Grants, but also if students use loans to pay their tuition. So about a third of our tuition comes through the federal government, through Department of Ed. So we have to think about that. We have to keep our eyes on if there are going to be any potential changes. I don't anticipate that that will take place for the first year, but it's something we've got to keep our eyes on. Regulatory changes. We had a conversation at the last board meeting about FLSA changes. So we gave information related to potential pending changes with the FLSA. That got undone by legal action by a federal court. And then going forward, what the change in administration was sort of making that pretty tenuous to begin with as well. So there are things that can flip and change in terms of regulatory, the goals of the new administration, things that they're talking about. We're going to have to keep our eyes on that. The last one is if there's a major effort to reduce expenditures, so ongoing grants that we have, whether that's financial aid related grants that go directly to students, or some of our other programs, TRIO programs, child care, Title III, Title V, all of those programs are federal funds, so we're going to have to keep our eyes to see if there are any implications with the new administration. So I wanted to bring that up because that's a new uncertainty from the last time we talked. Okay, to start out, this is an updated slide related to the college's ongoing reserve. So this is our equivalent of our savings account, the money that we have set aside in investments. And it's shown in terms of the new policy that the college has, that the board approved recently. So recall that the college has a goal to keep within the 2 dotted lines, so above the yellow dotted line and below the green dotted line. If it goes above the green dotted line, that is to say the college has sufficient reserves, we can think about one-time investments. If it goes below the yellow dotted line, the college has to come up with a budget plan for how to get back up into that healthy reserve level. So as you can see, the last few years, we've spent down the reserve balances. That it was totally planned. That was not an unexpected nor a surprise event. That is Allied Health in particular, the Center of Excellence for Allied Health, upcoming construction as well in the ST West. So it will also go down a little bit more than this, but then should stabilize because, again, our operating budget, the idea is that we're balancing the ongoing expenditures with the ongoing revenues. Okay, partly this is also for our new board members to provide some information to them. So I've included some information that you've already seen. So this is a summary of where the current year budget is, where the different revenues are that fund the current year budget. Again, grade out the areas that are the use of college equity for capital projects and grade out the grants and contracts because those aren't really ongoing operating. Those are more like one-time or external funded that have external goals and programs attached to them. But as you can see, the 2 biggest revenue streams are property tax levy and tuition and fees. At one time, people used to talk about a 3-legged stool because state funds used to support, at the beginning of my tenure here, it was about 20% of our operating, and now is essentially non-significant. Okay, this is, again, there's one update on here. This is just to remind the board the things that there are in the board's discretion, but that we are intending to build a budget. The conversation we've had with the board, what we're planning to do is build a budget that does not have a property tax increase, does not have a general tuition increase. Okay, so the fact that I put some of those numbers in here is just for context. It's not to say that this is what we're doing with the budget. So for example, it shows what an increase in tuition would be, but again, the plan is to build a budget, go forward with no tuition, no general tuition increase. But if you were to increase tuition by $1, it generates $400,000. Okay, property taxes, the levy neutral number is the number that the college will get regardless. That's without increasing taxes. That's for new growth in new properties. So think that that's an actual revenue that we can sort of count on, that plus $2 million. State aid, not expecting any change. And then other revenues, there should be a slight increase, or we're expecting a slight increase in Prop 301, not totally significant in terms of the overall budget. And then the other one, I believe I mentioned this, but I didn't give any specific numbers. We are going to be experiencing a reduction in investment revenues. That is because of 2 things. One is we have fewer revenues that were, as you saw that one slide, if you have less in your savings account than you're investing, you're going to, all things being equal, get less return. The other thing is, as you're aware, interest rates have been declining. So the Fed, when they make their changes in interest rates, that means that fixed investments, the kinds of investments that we put our reserves into, also go down over time. We've been working on extending the amount of time with the investment firm and talking with the Finance Audit Committee to extend the length of those. We knew that there were going to be reductions coming, so the goal is to sort of extend out the amount of time, but we have relatively short investment in short-term investments in our portfolio, so there's only so much you can do. So investment returns, when interest rates go down, our returns will go down. So it's probably between $1 million, probably a little closer to $2 million of reduced revenue in the upcoming year because of that. Okay, a couple of ideas that we're talking about. We mentioned that the budget is intended to not have an increase in general tuition. There are two things that we're exploring, and we want to get some board feedback related to this on whether the board in the upcoming months wants to see more information and more proposals related to this. One of them is that the cost of supporting dual enrollment is in the neighborhood direct expense only. That's the people who directly support dual enrollment, not the faculty, not the deans. This is the people who are in that unit who work with the high schools. It's a little over $1 million of direct expense. To recover that cost, if we charge 50% of general tuition for dual enrollment programs, that would be an offsetting cut. That would offset that cost. So that's an option. A number of the other community colleges in Arizona do charge for dual enrollment tuition. It ranges from a fairly nominal $25 per credit hour type of a charge to they charge normal in-state tuition. So it's a range, and most of them do it directly, so the student is billed for that. But I think a couple of the colleges also work directly with the high schools, so that the high schools somehow get the student to pay them, and then they transfer the cost to the student. But I would recommend that we do it like what Maricopa does, which is it's paid by the student and the family of the student. Anyway, that's something we're exploring. Another one that we've had conversations about, increasing the differential for our high-cost programs. The current revenue that's generated, we have differential tuition for a handful of our programs. It's charged just for the credits that are in that program. So a nursing student, they pay the differential for a nursing class, but if they take a math class, they don't pay for the differential for the math class. So it's not for all of their program, it's just for the subject-specific courses. That generates for the college about $2.1 million. We changed the formula and how that works a few years ago. Just to give you, to remind you of what those fees are, general tuition right now is $100.50 per credit hour. The differential A is $51.50 on top of that, so that student would pay $152 per credit hour. Differential B is on top of the $100.50, it's another $82.50. So those are for slightly higher cost programs. They don't recover by any means the entire costs of those programs. The idea is it's based on a share of essentially the instructional costs. So the difference in faculty, because some of the faculty are higher cost faculty, but more importantly, the costs are for smaller courses, right? If you have 10 students per course, the cost per student is quite a bit higher because you get that. Right now, we set it a couple of years ago when we reset the way the differential tuition works, is it's proportional so that it's roughly, the differential covers roughly the same proportion of those direct instructional costs to general tuition for general tuition courses. But if the board is interested in talking more about differential tuition, it's something going forward I think that we're definitely going to want to talk more about. Just want to throw that out there as an idea. So the $2.1 million is what's currently generated, not anything like a proposal. This is what, in addition, I'm just saying that that's the starting point. Okay, in terms of expenses, again, this is more for educational purposes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this other than to highlight that when you take the different pieces of the pie and then you narrow them down, looking at the left-hand side, that's the all-fund budget, and then with the general fund is the majority of that, with restricted and capital being the two other big pieces of the pie. Then when you look just at the general fund and you take a look at how are the expenses divvied up there, the large majority is personnel expenses. We've talked about that. That's totally normal for a community college. To have 70% is actually not bad. There are community colleges that have the percentage is quite a bit worse, and they're really constrained in terms of what they can do. So 70%, 23% operating, a little bit of scholarships, and then reserves and contingency. Reserves and contingency are primarily for things, so reserves are when something hasn't been determined what the expense will go to exactly. So it's a set aside in case you need to use it. So budget, it gives you the ability to spend, but it doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to spend the money on. Contingency is you have an unexpected issue. So the board has a contingency of $3 million. Again, I've said this a number of times, it's never been spent as long as I've been here, but it gives you capacity in case there's an emergency that pops up. The biggest reserves are, there's a reserve for enrollment growth. So that gives us the ability that if enrollment shoots up, if there's some downturn in the economy and our enrollment just booms, because that happens, that can happen, we have the budget capacity to move the money toward adjunct faculty contracts so that we can add classes and meet the needs of the students. So that's what, there are reserves, et cetera. So the idea of reserves aren't things like that's a slush fund. Reserves are set aside for very specific purposes. It's just not designated what it's to be used for at the time. Then moving forward, breaking it down even more, looking at the personnel, we'll have more conversation with the board in probably the next study session. We'll talk a little bit about our benefit structure. How does our benefit structure? We just got a report back. We hired a firm to take a look at where our benefits are compared to other institutions, other organizations. And so we'll share that information with the board. The majority, so fringe benefits, a lot of that is not discretionary to the college. Retirement is statutory, how much we have to provide in retirement benefits. Obviously, other personnel taxes, FICA, also determined by law, not discretionary for the college. How rich our medical plan is a little bit discretionary, but again, that's one of the things, so we'll take a look at it. I think our benefits program is good but not amazing. Like, it's not something that people would like give up the world for, but it is a solid program, but that's what we want to talk with the board about going forward. Again, looking at the distribution of employees by type, and then the operating expenses. Personnel is when, and we've talked about this, it's not to say that there aren't reductions that can happen in the operational side, and we're going to have more conversation with the board in the near future related to operating expenses, some of the ideas we have, but what actually is the operating expenses are spent on. Sort of showing that there's not a lot of discretionary room there. Most of it are things like paying for utilities, paying for the system licenses that we spend, professional development. It isn't to say that there aren't small amounts that can be reduced in all of those areas, but that large amounts, it's very difficult to find large amounts because it's not that big of a piece of the pie when you start looking at those things and how discretionary or not discretionary they are. Which gets us to personnel. If the college is going to reduce on the expenditure side, it has to be on the personnel side. In the current year, the goal is to reduce by about $2.5 million positions through attrition. This is an update on how far we've come so far. These are closed positions that were in the budget in the current year, so we've reduced 12. I can tell you that there's actually others that are about to be closed. There's another 3 or 4 that I know of just off the top of my head. They just haven't been closed yet. And then the college, Dr. Nassi has talked with the ELT and given some pretty clear guidance about the goal to reduce positions, and I'll leave it if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, well, I was waiting do we interrupt you for
Yes.
questions and comments, or do we wait till the end?
Either.
No, thank you, Dr. B, you and your team for working through the budget. Yeah, at a high level, as I'm beginning to work through the budget here at Pima Community College, right, what are the goals? We'd like to, of course, provide a modest raise for our faculty and our employees, our staff that are working hard in support of our students. But importantly, not raise tuition, right, and not raise property taxes. That's something I'm strongly committed to trying to do, and I think we can get there and by reducing expense, right? That's what it comes down to, is being able to reduce expense. And so one of the things, we want to keep hiring faculty, right? We need faculty, and I don't want to compromise ever safety and security, so police is another area that we're going to leave alone. But on the staff side, right, I've asked, we're on a full hiring review. Any position needs to have really intense scrutiny and review And just really, let's be creative and think about how we're doing things. Can we redeploy existing resources so we can reduce that expense? And I'm glad to see that we are slowly climbing up the thermometer here, the ladder, if you will, and getting to that place where I think we can achieve both those goals, right? Goals, high-quality service, an appropriate compensation for our faculty and staff, and at the same time, not put any burden on the taxpayers nor the students of the institution. So, thanks, Dave.
One thing I didn't, yes.
On the pension fund, it's just real quick. I know we had a certain percentage we're trying to get to. Can you recall what that number is?
Oh,
funding it?
Yeah, just to clarify, so, that's finance audit talk, so thanks for bringing that up. Clarifying a couple of points. So the college has two pension plans, Arizona State Retirement System and then the Public Safety Retirement System. They work slightly differently. So Board Member Garcia is referring more to the Public Safety Retirement System, which the college has more direct liability on. So a few years ago, there were new regulations that came out in terms of the college has new requirements in terms of posting how we're doing in terms of the unfunded liability. We were at, and I'm going on memory, I think we were at a funded rate of about 55%, I think. So the college has committed to increasing the contribution to that plan significantly and has made very good headway. So we were above 70% last year, much closer to where the Arizona State Retirement System is, so bringing back that other piece. The state system is funded, I think, to about 80%. And I'm giving rough numbers if you guys want. I'm happy to come back and give you the exact numbers. But I think the state system is about 80%, which is okay plus in terms of state systems. It's not bad compared to other states. It's not one of the best. So it's, and the contribution rates, the increased rates, so the college and the employee contribute about 12% on each side of the salary. To that, the reason the rates are so high is to try and get that funding rate up, okay? So it's more direct for the public safety retirement system, so that's our police officers. So that's why the college has to do its own share. We were putting in an extra $1 million a year into that program for the last couple of years. This year it's $500,000 because we've gotten up to a pretty equivalent level to ASRS, but we're continuing to put in additional money into it. So hopefully that got to your question. So it's good, I would say good and improving, but not amazing. And eventually the public safety, if we continue to have this supplemental contribution, it will be in a very healthy place very soon. In the next few years. Okay. Again, we're going to talk with the board a bit more in detail about particularly this gray area. And I mentioned at the last meeting, think of that as in the contractual services, about a third of that is IT, about a third of it is facilities, and about a third is everything else, but everything else also includes insurance payments. So we're going to give you more of that information and talk a little bit about what each of those expenses are, what they go to, but think about all of our systems, the Oracle database structures, the Ellucian Banner, Famous, the facilities systems, all of those systems that cost money, the utilities, obviously, keeping the lights on, keeping things heated, all of that sort of thing, heated and air conditioned, those things, how much money those cost. The utilities, by the way, I said that at the same time, but utilities are up in this category. So again, we have ideas. We're looking at different things. We're looking at travel. One of the things we're talking about is different events where the college sends lots of people to the same event. Let's be a little more judicious about that. Let's be really thoughtful about, send people who are going to benefit, but then when they come back, have them share the information instead of having lots of people go. And just being a little bit more judicious with the money that goes into travel. Again, travel is not just fun. A lot of it is professional development, and a lot of it is necessary for the job. So it's the combination of those things. But there are some savings that we're looking at there as well. Okay, that gets me through the highlights that I wanted to hit. Again, I'm trying to both talk with you all and make sure that the upcoming board folks have some basic information as well so they can hit the ground running. And with that, I'll, again, sort of recap. The budget development calendar is there. The idea is communicating often, frequently with the board, getting feedback, making sure the board's comfortable with the direction that we're going. If the board has questions, we want to answer those questions and give that kind of information. Setting priorities, and then obviously the goal is to develop a sustainable budget. Okay, any questions for me, comments? I did that as quickly as I could.
Thank you for that. I mean, from my perspective, I appreciate the update on the thermometer and the expense reduction. We had talked about this, for a few years now, but I always thought there was progress we could make on that side. So I'm glad that we're doing that, and there's more to come. That certainly helps, as we talked about before, not to put so much on the shoulders of our students and their families and Pima County taxpayers who are already shouldering quite a bit. And for what it's worth, I'm excited for the upcoming discussions around the differential tuition and the dual enrollment piece. I'd be very interested to learn more about specifically what the other Arizona community colleges are doing, just so we're not doing something that's super far afield. But I think that's, to me, sounds like good tracks to, for a discussion about how we could potentially do something on the revenue side, but not, an across the board tax increase or an across the board tuition increase, which I agree. I don't think that's something we should be pursuing at this moment. So no, I appreciate it. It sounds like it's all headed in a good direction, and I'm looking forward to the future discussion part on that second bullet point there.
Great.
Madam Chair, I agree with everything that Greg just said. And I was hoping that we'd have a better opportunity to get our, for want of a better word, money back from the legislature this year, but good luck with that. I think we really have to keep an eye on what's going to happen with the Department of Education. And my thinking is, if for some reason they start decreasing the Pell Grant money, I think it would be important for the college to tell the community what is happening and how it affects an individual. Because big numbers are being thrown around, and this is how much money we can save at the federal level, but I think we have to make it personal so that the community knows that we're losing enrollment because students aren't getting their Pell Grant, or they're now homeless when they were getting a housing subsidy. But if we could make it personal, I think it would help us with the relationship with the community. This is a great presentation for the new board members. And when I saw the first one, when I came on the board, it was drinking out of a fire hose. So I don't know how you do it, but this information has to go to the new board members, but maybe not at all one time. I don't know how that happens, but just be kind to them.
It is a challenge for sure, and again, if they're listening and we'll set up, I'm available to have multiple meetings, right, to help them understand. But it is a fire hose. It's rough.
Yes.
There's a lot to take on.
And when the discussion continues on differential tuition, I would recommend that a part of that conversation is not only how much more it costs to provide the program to the student, but what the student's earning potential is in those specific programs. So it costs more to educate them, but also they're going to make more when they graduate from the program. So I would recommend including that. Presentation was well done, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And sorry, I did one other thing. Just what Wade said kind of jogged my memory around the differential tuition. But I mean, at least for my purpose, I would be interested in seeing, you have those sort of two buckets, right? It was A and B or whatever it was that you described. I mean, I certainly would be open to a discussion about, is that the right number, right? Like, does it have to go up? Does it have to, but I also hope we're going to look at, and I agree with what Wade said about earning potential, but are there other programs that aren't currently in one of those differential tuition buckets that might need to be because of the costs that are there? So hopefully we can look at all of the aspects of that.
I think in that next study session, when we get into it, I'll explain the methodology for how it's determined that programs get into it and how it was determined sort of what that differential was. But you're talking about drinking out of the fire hose. It's somewhat complicated, but it's doable. It's understandable.
It'd be nice to know which programs are in the differential A and which are in differential B2.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I'll share.
And then also, let's just make sure that we don't price ourselves out of being super competitive. I know some of, like, I don't want to name the other colleges in town, but one of the nursing colleges, I think it's like $7,000 a semester.
Yes.
And obviously, they're fully enrolled. So I'm not saying let's go up to even, $1 less than that, but let's just make sure that, maybe the students we're serving are a different, socioeconomic status, and maybe they can't pay, that high level. Anyway, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we meet again in 2 days to talk about the issues facing the governing board pertaining to the decision we just made on the Drockman properties. Is there a second? Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? We're going to meet at 4 o'clock. We'll have a 25-minute call to the audience. We won't have anybody repeat the same comments or content that had been spoken about before, in case people are interested in sharing their thoughts with us. And we're going to meet at 4 o'clock to do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And now we're going to, any other future business items you want to talk about, add?
That will be the last meeting of this board, right?
It will be, except for, we have meetings about HLC, and we have a week of HLC in December. So you're not through with us yet? Okay, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for being here.